John, come on up. Oh, I do have the nursery rotation. I'm going to send it around again.
See if I can get this working. Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, that's working. Okay. Well, I'm going to present a ministry of our church. I got some help to provide the finances for these 2 trips, and with the condition I would make a presentation, and I don't always know what to do on a presentation. I'll give you some facts, and then I'll do a vacation picture tour. Is that what and you can stop me at any time. So I took 2 trips this year. In May, I went to the western coast of Albania in a town called Vlorë, and then I just got back from the jungles of Peru. A lot of people don't know that most of Peru is the Amazon jungle. There is the Andes Mountains there as well, but it's just a sliver on the coast. So the group I go with, I've gone on 11 trips, is Operation Renewed Hope, and we just abbreviate it ORH. And this is the theme verse for ORH. So Jesus, Matthew 9:35, then Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, so there's one thing he did, preaching the gospel, that's another thing, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitudes, and I'm going to show you multitudes of lines of people wanting to get into our clinic, he had compassion for them because they were weary and scattered, like sheep having no shepherd. A lot of these people never seen a doctor. You put a blood pressure cuff on them, they have no idea what you're doing. So we go to the most remote places in the world where there's missionaries, and we support the missionaries. And essentially what we want to do is help build up their churches or help start new churches in these remote places with the medical clinic as an outreach to show people that Jesus cares not just about their soul, but about them. And many groups will go and they'll minister to their physical needs, and that's it. But we make sure that every single person that comes through that clinic and also around the neighborhood hears the gospel. So the harvest truly is plentiful, but the laborers are few. You're a laborer, aren't you? You know, pray that you could have an outreach, because every person you run across is God's divine appointment for that day. So you are the laborers, and then we need to pray that we'll get more laborers out there, because there's plenty of people out there that haven't heard the gospel. All right, so I'm a registered respiratory therapist. I'm a retired chemistry teacher, and I work 1 day a week at St. Luke's on the Plaza. I got to work with all the COVID patients over the last year, and it was not fun, folks. It was pretty brutal. I've never seen the morale so low. But since I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, but I'm a medical professional, when I get on the field, it's where needed most. So a lot of times I run triage, which is they come in and we get their vital signs, and I just check to make sure all the vital signs are correct, and that person may need to go see the doctor now, or they may have to wait in line. So that's usually what I do. But in Albania, we had nursing students from Maranatha Baptist University. they kind of make it a requirement that they have to go on a mission trip once a year. And this was the trip that they were on. So they ran triage. And last year in Uganda, we had a similar situation. They put me with the dentist. Well, I've never seen a tooth pulled. I've seen about anything in the hospital. When he pulled that first tooth, I was like, you know. So anyways, I learned how to clean dental equipment, and somehow I figured out what tool he wanted to do what, and so that was where my most needed was at that time. In Albania, we have a 79-year-old gentleman, Don Rosine, who usually is at the gate. Well, he got sick the first day, and so they put me at the gate. I didn't realize that was the most important part of the clinic, because you can imagine a lot of times when we get to a clinic, we have 300 people online, you know, and then you got to organize them and let them in one by one, and you can't let a lot of people in at any given time because there's so much room inside the clinic for them to wait for the doctors or the dentist or whatever. So I got to do gate duty, which was interesting. They did let me have the night watchman for a couple hours at the beginning of, and he was a big burly guy, so that was nice. So I just want to explain how our clinic works. So usually it's a day or two to travel to get to where we're going, and then the next day is a day where we organize, and then we have to count pills, especially vitamins, because everybody that comes to the clinic gets a vitamin pack. Maybe there's worm medicine in there and malaria medicine, but depends on where we're at. But everybody gets something, because we have to have a little bit of something to hold over there, one. Number two, people will gripe if they don't get something. It's free, you know, but still, you know how it goes. And so what we do is, once they get all the way through the clinic, then we take their prescription, and it may just be for vitamins. We call it a wellness pack. And we'll take that to the pharmacy, and then they get to hear either a preaching service or in Peru, the church members of Puerto Mandonado Grace Evangelical Baptist Church, the church members did one-to-one with the people, and everybody gets to hear the gospel. And then once they hear that, then they go to the pharmacy and they get whatever was prescribed for them. But we have to get that all ready, set up. So when you come to the clinic, the first thing is they go through registration. We want to get their name and where they live, especially because the church is going to follow up on all the people that come through the clinic. So they do registration, they get all their information, and then the next place they go is triage. And like I said, a lot of times I run triage. I'm the old gentleman that stands there, and, you know, every place you go overseas, there's some old gentleman standing there, you know, making sure everything. And if he's not there, then everybody feels uneasy, you know, that there's not somebody there. But with my medical background, I pretty much can do a quick assessment of people and tell, you know, and I have a walkie-talkie too, and I can get on there and I can say, hey, you know, this person's got a blood pressure 210 over 140. I think we need to see a doctor right now, you know. Or they may be very feeble, and I'll call the crowd control. Did I put that up there? So we have doctors that go with us. A lot of them go almost every trip. And then we have dentists. I know Harry Gibson goes on every trip, and we have a dentist from Honduras that is pretty much committed herself to going on every trip. And then somebody runs vision. We've trained a couple nurses to run those vision machines. You know, when you go see the eye doctor, they have those vision machines. You know, they pretty much can tell just from that what prescription a person needs. So the Lions Club, if you give glasses to the Lions Club, and Walmart has a donation box if you're interested, got some old glasses. Next time you go to Walmart, right by the eyeglass area, there's a donation box. And what they'll do is they take those after a while. They send them to Dallas to the headquarters of the Lions Club, and the Lions Club puts them in boxes on the different prescription, maybe a diopter -1 or whatever. We don't always get the nicest looking eyeglasses, but that's okay. You know, people, when we left Velour, there's a lady that got on the bus, and she goes, I've been wanting eyeglasses for 20 years because I couldn't afford them. She goes, and I got, so I can see clearly now, first time in 20 years that I've been able to see this well. So there's nothing cooler than putting eyeglasses on a 70-year-old that's never had glasses in their life. So we bring boxes of eyeglasses. And like I said, we have preaching or a gospel presentation right before they go through pharmacy. And then, like I said, pharmacy, everybody gets a wellness pack. So it's a progression. And I have people, I'm not a medical professional. Could you use me? Yes, we could. It's called crowd control. You know, Jesus had very good methods of crowd control. You know, he made everybody sit down. You know, and he made it very orderly. And teenagers, I see some teenagers in who are with me. Would you like to come along and do crowd control for us? You don't have to be in control of it, but you could certainly point and make sure people move from seat to seat. And that's a very important part of the ministry there. We are told every time, you know, you got to be careful with that crowd because they might come and tear a roof off and lower. I mean, Jesus had the same problem, you know, of dealing with crowds of people, multitudes of people. So we flew into Albania the third week of May, and we landed here in Tirani. That's the capital city of Albania. And then we took a bus down here to this little area. It's 80 miles over to Italy from there. And the town was called Velour. And it's a resort town. And then we went, the first 2 days, we went up into the mountains, about 45 minutes in the mountains to a Roma community. Now, you probably growing up, you heard of gypsies. Well, gypsies finally settled down and formed a community, and we call them the Roma community. So we were up there for 2 days, and then we came back down to Velour, right through here, for a 2-day clinic. Both of them, we were at public schools, and they didn't allow us to preach the gospel in the school. So we always had to have a place across the street. There was a little community center in Rizali, the Roma community, where we could present the gospel to them. And then we had the big public school, high school in Velour, and we had one half of the playground, and the other half the kids came and went all day long. So that was interesting, crowd control. So this is the team. I'm over here. This is the Adriatic Sea. I was totally amazed. Usually I kind of expect an air mattress and a sleeping bag. But in Velour, there was a new hotel. Anytime you get a new airline to an area or a new hotel, you get cheap rates. We got some cheap rates on this 4-star hotel. I was just shocked. Now, there was 4 of us in the one-bedroom hotel area that they gave us, but we had nice, those people liked 62 degrees at night. When I show you Harry, you'll see Harry's like 6'4" and over 300 pounds. He's a big guy. He likes it really cold. But what can I complain when that's your view, you know? So we take people from different places in the world, mainly from the United States. The founder of the organization, Jan Milton, some of you know Jan Milton. He's has some medical issues. He's in his 70s now, and he's not able to go along. He might, just depends on how his health is, but he's turned it over to a guy out of Tennessee named Dan Jones, who's a physician assistant, and Mike Keenan is a retired construction. He does all of the front work. You got to always have somebody out there running around the world and setting things up, getting it all. He does a great job. So they kind of do that. But we go to places, and the dentists and doctors want to go along with us. So we have a doctor from Mexico, Dr. Rosa, that goes on most of the trips. And when we were in Honduras last summer, it was we were kind of short on workers. So Jan presented the ministry to our church the week before, and we got 10 church members that came along, and one of them was a dentist. And I'm going blank on names. But she's committed pretty much to go on every trip now. So she went to Albania with us, and then she went to Peru with us. And the nice thing is she speaks pretty good Spanish. So does Dr. Rosa. So when we go to Spanish speaking, we don't need a translator for them. Also, we have a pharmacist and a dentist from Lima, Peru, that tend to go with us a little bit. And we had people from Australia and Norway, So we take anybody who's committed to believe, to the doctrines that we believe in, and so we get people from all over the world. And then we always use the people in the churches. So the main church in Tyranny, I can't think of the name of it, Mike Fiocchi, some of his people came along, and then he has started a church, or Ari, who's an Albanian, his church, they came along as well. And then in Vellore, there's 2 churches there. Ken King has one, and then Ben Manley's been there about 9 months, and he's got a small church. And both of those are going to do the follow-up up in Rieseli and Vellore. So it's hosted by Mike and Jennifer Fiocchi of Baptist World Missions, and it was conducted in Vellore with the supporting churches Ben Manley and Kirk King, and planting and encouraging churches. First 2 clinic days, we're in a community called Rieseli. Now, we didn't see any new Christians in Rieseli. The Albanians, in 1967, they were declared the first atheist country. They closed down all the churches, all the mosques, turned them into community centers. They killed a number of pastors. It's basically an Eastern Orthodox background, but they say 56% of Albanians are Muslim, just by name only, pretty much. It's not like going to Saudi Arabia type Muslim. I saw mosques there. I never heard any call to prayer. I didn't. So that law made a big impact on the Albanians. Now in the 90s, they got rid of the leader, and it's a capitalist society. So the people are pretty hard people, But the thing in Albania, and this is probably true in a lot of places, when a person becomes a Christian, they're dedicated, and you see a lot of dedicated Christians in those 4 churches in Albania. The European Union wanted to, or Albania wanted to become a member of the European Union, and so the European Union sent representatives to kind of check out how things work in Albania, and 9 of the 10 Supreme Court justices resigned after the interviews because they were making 5 times their income by being a judge. So it's just interesting just to run into people who their whole life is negotiating and arguing and trying to get their way because it's all up to the whims of the people above them. So we did all the things we normally do there. We saw 1,065 people, all who heard the gospel. Many of those people have never really heard the gospel. I mean, you think about their background. They, with Christianity was outlawed for many years, and then they were under communism. We only saw one person become a Christian, but after we left, another person became a Christian. So I want to talk a little bit about Gizami. Gizami was a lady in Rieseli, and she had a trach. Now, I work 1 day a week at the St. Luke's on the Plaza. That's who I work with, is trach patients. I do a lot of things, but so let me ask you, what's the chance of a respiratory therapist from Kansas City showing up in Rieseli, Albania, and there's a trach patient? None of us has ever seen trach patients, any clinic we've ever gone to. Gizami heard the gospel. And so I worked with her a little bit, did a little pulmonary rehab with her, and she gave me a big hug afterwards. And Ari, the pastor in Tyranny, was there, and he gave a clear presentation of the gospel. I read John 3:16 to her in English, and he translated it. So that's a lady that God has a special plan for, don't you think? I've got another story. So we're in Chile. This is 10 years ago. And we're in southern Chile, and we take a medical boat from Butachakis Island. And we go over to Meringue, and then one day we went to Tok Island. And the thing about southern Chile is Chile is a pretty rich country. They've got a lot of mineral resources in the northern part. So we had people from the northern part, the Atacama Desert, that see 1/4 of an inch of rain a year. Lots of minerals. They had a vision to go to southern Chile to reach the salmon fishing down there. So they came along, and they organized the clinic, and we're in Tok Island. Now, in the meantime, there was Boy Scouts from Santiago that came to Tok to do service projects for their Boy Scout. They were pretty bored. So they asked if they could help. So that's another day that I did a little crowd control. So they sent 2 of them to me to help translate. Shared the gospel with them. They became Christians. Now, what's the chances of a person from Kansas City showing up at Tok Island the same time Boy Scouts from Santiago were in Tok Island to hear the gospel? Now, I tried to follow up on them. My Spanish is not very good. But I believe they became Christians, and that's a God thing, isn't it? That's just how God works, And I also want to pray for Boris. Now, Boris was a Serbian and Eastern Orthodox Christian that I spent time with from, where did we fly out of that day? Austria to, did I say a bad word, Pastor? Austrian Airlines to Chicago. I did that trip. And I got to present the gospel to him, although he felt like since he was Eastern Orthodox, he was a Christian. They not only just Catholics that do that. Catherine was a soccer player. Now, I've coached soccer for 16 years that I flew with going to Albania. No, where was it? Somewhere along the line. And we got talking soccer, got to share the gospel with him. I always carry those Gospel of John booklets with me. They're so good, Here, you read Gospel of John, and then the last part of that has the gospel. And use them, folks. We got plenty of them, don't we? We'll order more, so use them, carry them with you. People hear the gospel. Okay, so I got pictures here. I'm going to try to get through this quickly. Some of you already seen the pictures. Let's see, I want to get the Peru. So there's the Adriatic Sea. This is in Vellore. So you can see we have, this is a high school in Vellore. Now to them it's a really nice, modern high school, but you probably wouldn't send your kids there in the United States. You know? It looks kind of second rate, but it was nice for the places we go. So we had our clinic over here, and then I got to stand out here. There's Pastor Manley. And this is the crowd when we first showed up on Thursday. Now, not on Friday. The media showed up on Thursday and videoed everything we did, and nationwide we had 5 minutes of the news on Thursday. Friday at 2 a.m. the first person shows up. And the crowd was much bigger on Friday. And Friday's always kind of a hard day because every other day we can go, you can come back tomorrow. But Friday, we got to get them in. And we can only handle, I think in Peru we did 400 one day, but usually around 300 patients. That's just a little presentation. I'm going to try to flip through Adriatic Sea. This is our bus that couldn't get up to the top of the mountain. We went to a museum at the top of the mountain. This was the last Albanian stronghold against the Ottomans attacking. So we got to go up the top of the mountain and see that. It was pretty cool. But the Ottomans ran Albania for a long time until World War I. So this is registration. You have anybody, any warm body that can write, and a translator, and then you always have a medical professional in the background kind of going up and down, making sure. Sometimes they ask, well, in Albanian it's this, as far as I can understand in English it's this, what do you think it is? You know, well, it sounds like just a rash, you know, so there's always, and I've been head of registration before too, and I just walk up and down and look at the forms and make sure everything looks correct. So this is us counting pills. On the first day we're there. Another picture of that. I'm sorry, these are random pictures. I didn't organize them. This is the nurses from Maranatha Baptist University, nurse students. This is, if you know Carl Herbster, that's his son Mike's, who is the dean of students up there, daughter, I can't remember her name. All right, so this is how a crowd can get. So it was Friday, 10:30. My translator said, are you ready for this? No more vision today. So we said, no more vision, and a riot erupted. And this lady, I'm not sure, she might have been demon-possessed. I don't know. I've seen some people that I think are demon. She might have been. She got the crowd all riled up, and so we ended up, you'll see our defensive position, me and Dominic from Germany and Pastor Manley, who looks like a good offensive lineman. We literally stood there for half an hour, and we called the police, and they came. They didn't do much better than this. But that lady knew the crazy lady. So they called her to come see and maybe quell her. Just doing some vital signs here. This is at the first of the day. We were able to pull some of the crowd in. First person line there, right there. He showed up at 2 a.m. And the main reason was to get glasses. You know, they all wanted glasses. So we had about 10:30 in the morning. Usually we had to close things down. We had to go home, you know, by 5. So there I am. This is Don Rosine. He's 79 years old. He's done this forever, it seems like, from the beginning. And he usually runs the gate. So he was there. He's like, oh, good, somebody else gets through. But he does a good job, but he was training me up there. So do you notice there's a line here? So Mike Fiocchi came by and he was like, wow, how'd you get him to do a line? Prayer, folks. I'm telling you, the effect of you praying is amazing. I tell people, look, my church is praying. This is going to happen. It's going to stop raining. I mean, people are going to form lines. I'll get through it. So that's kind of the crowd. That's semblance of a line. That's Dan Jones, who's head of the organization now, and Mike Keenan, who does all the advanced work and makes sure all the clinics run well. There's Harry Gibson in the background. He's a dentist, a retired dentist that comes almost every trip. And essentially, the dentists just pull teeth. Although in Albania, nobody wanted their teeth pulled. They wanted the glasses, so they actually got to do a little bit of cleaning, and every child that comes through there gets a fluoride treatment. So it doesn't matter if they want to do anything else. We'll pull them over and give them a fluoride treatment. And we have a little mobile x-ray. You can see a suction machine in the background. All this has to be carried on the plane with us. And this chair right here, that folds up into a suitcase. So all that stuff folds up into suitcases we carry along with us. And there's Lydia Dole. It's spelled like Dole, but she's the dentist from Honduras. This is just random pictures here. Like this is Dr. Pei. He goes on a lot of the trips. He's a surgeon. He can do some minor surgery at Ray. My favorite picture is Dr. Sa in the jungles of Cambodia with the water buffalo walking by, taking a cyst off somebody's neck. We usually have somebody do, that's an obstetrician, and we see a lot of ladies. So that, I can't think of her name either. There's Dr. Pei's wife, who's a pediatrician. So we have a lot of different specialties as we go along. There I am eating these. There's Lydia, and then these are two nursing students from MBU. So one of the things we do is we pass out pamphlets, and I'm like, why do we do this? Once the word gets out, it's a mob. But this is our pamphlets. Those are the boxes for the vision part of the clinic. So you can see there are different diopters here. These are the kind of things. This lady has a goiter and some other issues. We always have a little extra money to take care of people like that. So we're following up on her. And I think she's seen an Albanian doctor. I think she's going to, I don't know what they do. Usually goiters, you just give them potassium pills, but this is pretty advanced. There we are. This is one of the church members from Tyranny that came all the way down to Valor, brought her grandma with her to see Dr. Gibson. So see all this stuff here? I have no idea what those things are, but when I worked with Dr. Gibson, he's like, give me a 165. So I was really happy. Usually we have a person that does that, and does a very good job of it, not a rookie. So those are the utensils. There's the crowd. This is like 7 in the morning. We don't start till 8. John 3:16 in Albanian. Crowd again, crowd. I'm going to flip through here. So there we are. That's what we had to do for about 20, 30 minutes to keep the crowd. And I kept telling them, you need to make me happy. I'm the one that lets you in. Yeah. Well, they're not used to that. Used to arguing and pushing and shoving. I mean, you can imagine in a communist background. And my translator, let's see if I got a picture of him. So this is Dominic. Now, Ben is a pastor of the new church in Valor. He's going to follow up. Recently, we'll have a church, but it'll be non-Christians. Can you have a church with non-Christians? Well, that's what he's going to do up there, because they all want to come to church. But it takes a while. It took me a while to become a Christian, did it not you? And Dominic was riding through and visiting missionaries and found out we had a clinic. He's a German. And so he said, I'll just stay around and help out. The thing is, we both look Albanian. Now in Peru, Uganda, but they all thought I spoke Albanian. I'm like, no, Americana. And I had my Google Translate, and you know, that was really interesting. So there we are again. Oh, the media shows up on Thursday, and I've told you about that. So this is the media interviewing Dan. I was shocked. On my website, I have that video of their presentation. I'm going to flip through here. This is Riesele, and Riesele was kind of a hard place because there wasn't a lot of room, so we had to run them all around the campus, and so crowd control in Riesele was interesting. Have you seen olive trees? I had to take a picture. These are all so the whole area up there in Riesele is olive orchards. That's a museum. Passing out tracts, or passing out. That's Mike Fiocchi. He's been there probably 20 years. No, that's Ari. That's right. He is Ari runs a church on the other side of Tyranny. And there's been Manly Pharmacy. All right, I got to get to Peru. We bring physical therapists along with us. They're very good. And after I was doing this for 20, 30 minutes, I thought I just totally threw my back out. So I went over there. I thought her name was Miyagi. she had me do this and that, put her hands on me, and I was fine. I took some leave. Always bring a soccer ball along. When we were in Mubawali, Uganda, we came to the town, and the boys who were setting up the tents wanted to play soccer with the kids while we're waiting for the tent truck. And they didn't have a ball. I mean, not a soccer ball. They didn't have a ball. So we took used water bottles, tied them all up, and that was their soccer ball. Now, in the meantime, there was a boy over there tying banana leaves together. They make a pretty decent soccer ball with banana leaves. But you can buy soccer balls that are made for playing on dirt. And so I always bring one along and donate it because that's an attraction. What do you do in the afternoon when the doctors are still working and you're just waiting for them in pharmacy to finish up? So you grab the kids and you play a little soccer with them and get that one-on-one attention. Praying before clinic, praying before we go to the clinic. And this is a gospel track in Albanian. Gotta go. And that's Riesele up in the mountains, getting ready for the clinic. Like I said, it's kind of hard because we were up here doing the clinic, but we had to put crowd control way in the back and bring them around. And that was a hot day, and that's why Don had a kind of a dehydration spell. That's why I had to run the gate. And I thought this was pretty cool. They do a lot of shepherding, and then you got the olive trees in the background. I asked my wife, I said, that's off my balcony. This vision, Harry Gibson, that's Valor. All right. So I told my wife, I don't know what I'm going to do for 45 minutes. She goes, oh, you'll be fine. All right, so Peru, 2022. So this is, just wave at me if I'm telling too many stories. So this is where we went in July, third week of July. So we flew into Lima, and we flew over the Andes Mountains. And this is all jungle over here. And we went to Puerto Mandonado, which is on the Bolivian border. That river is called the Madre de Dios, or Mother of God River. And we went up that river and did 3 clinics up that river. I didn't get to go. I was the old man that had to, run the tree. So all us older folks, we got over here between Puerto Mandonado. Now over here is Machu Picchu, and there's Cusco, which is the door to Machu Picchu. So we went about an hour this direction to Toledo for our first 2 days of clinic. We had 3 clinics up this river. There's a tributary off of there too, Madre de Dios. They all kind of end up in the Amazon. I could tell you stories of the Amazon too, but I need to move on. So that's our group. The day we left, I'm kind of hidden back in here somewhere. I try to make myself, I think Dr. Rosa stuck her head in front of me. So we had 2 teams serving 5 different areas. We saw the largest clinic I've ever been on, 1,504 patients. So as a result of you helping me, we've seen up to 3,000 people heard the gospel in these 2 different places. We saw over 100 new Christians. Now, the deal in Peru is when they become Christians, it's not necessarily the same as becoming a Christian in Albania. So Buddy Fitzgerald has a hard time getting them to be real committed. And they'll come to church and kind of like the United States. And so we went 2 days in Toledo and 2 days in Puerto Mandonado at Grace Evangelical Christian Church. And then I can't pronounce the name of the villages up the river in the Madre de Dios River. And they had 25 workers. So on the towns we had now Puerto Mandonado is about 100,000 people. Toledo maybe only like 4,000. And so this is my triage group. Teenagers, would you like to go take blood pressure and put a pulse ox? It's easy training. Senior in high school, translator, senior in college never did anything medical. She's a history major. So we can train people to do those things, but I'm the medical professional that has to sign off, see, and make sure that everything looks good. And no, you don't breathe 40 times a minute. 12 to 20. Okay, so I've got less pictures on this one. Deeper. Oh, there it is. So this is the Amazon jungle. I love to see these big trees that grow up like 40 yards and then they branch out. And so you got your 3 different levels of trees. I just think it's kind of cool. These are Andes Mountains, so we flew over from Lima to Puerto Mandonado over the Andes Mountains. That's registration. We got to stay in a hotel here too, but it was more of like a 2-star hotel. So that's my room. Got a room to myself. I didn't have to share keys with 3 other people. This is the backside of the church in Puerto Mandonado, and this is where they did their gospel presentation. Those are the people that went up the river. Open in a Christian church. Is that right? This church kind of folded. It went down to like 5 members. So we had a clinic there. I think they saw 20 or 30 new Christians. So one of the things here is they're going to build this church back up. That's right next to it. This is the church in Puerto Mandonado. And there's gospel presentation. Counting pills again. Counting pills. This is Dr. Rosa from Mexico. These are the 2 sisters from Lima. One's she's a dentist. She's a pharmacist. So again, there's Dr. Dole pulling teeth. We pulled a lot of teeth in Peru. They wanted to, and if you've seen those teeth coming out, you see why they wanted it out. But we also saw a lot of vision, but we had more people in dentistry than we did vision. Did a little minor surgery here. That's Dr. Durst goes every time. Dr. Gibson pulling teeth. That's Dr. Rosa from Mexico City. That's us landing in Puerto Mandonado. That's how the people live in the jungle, taking stuff to the clinic. All the people there are descendants of Incas. I didn't see much Mexican influence, any Western influence. So it was pretty much Inca there. So this lady's 88 years old. She apologized because she has a fruit orchard, and she came an hour away to get there. And she wanted to bring us fruit, but we can't eat their fruit. They make us a specialized diet for us, so they are getting in their dugout canoes going, or the dugout boats, loading. We showed that picture. This is Madre de Dios, or the Mother of God River. Just thought I'd throw that in. Just that's off my balcony in Puerto Mandonado, a little different view. Physical therapist. One of the church members presenting the gospel, and there's a crowd. That's a view of the church from up above. And this is the line now there. That line was all the way down when we got there. I'm just flipping through because it's time for me to. So there I am, the old gentleman in the background. So they bring their papers to me. I weigh the babies, and then I check off, make sure everything looks good. And then you go to the doctor now. Somebody come down here. Get this person. Oh, in Toledo, this is an indoor, or it's a indoor soccer field, open air indoor. We were shocked. It was so nice. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. Yeah, you could probably donate to most places that you get glasses. They'll take them to Lions Club. See my scale here. This is in Puerto Mandonado. Marco, not a Christian, my translator. We were desperate for translators down there, so he lived next to the church. His family goes to church, but he's too busy on Sunday. Have you heard that before? So pray for Marco. He heard the gospel at least 5 different times, and then every day the pastor comes over and visits, you know. Have you seen that one? There's the Mother of God River. That's this is another doctor. Dr. Harry didn't go with us, and there's your vision clinic. All right. So it's 4 till. Yes, ma'am. Yes. And the church helped me. So this is how God does things. Do you want to go on a mission trip? We have one in January. Price went up. If God wants you to go, the money will be there. You know how I funded this trip? When I was working with the COVID patients, they were paying me bonus money down at the hospital. I mean, major bonus money, because everybody was quitting. And so for an incentive for you to go to work, so I just took that and rolled it right back into missions. And then pastor called me one day, goes, we'd like to help. So it was a church and bonus money. And that's God will do things, you know. Done? Okay.
Open the doors and let people